The Houston Rockets bullied the Golden State Warriors on their home floor as the 5-game winning streak is snapped. But did we take away some positives? We got Kylen Mills on the show. She's always cheery, and I'll do my best to give you some PTO, little positive thoughts only on today's Locked On Dubs.
Who cares now? Because I'm here, and I would like to think that I am wanted here.
Most importantly, he a dog.
We got 4 championships.
You are Locked On Warriors.
I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Speculation is just what it is, though.
Your team every day.
Man, oh man, the Houston Rockets are tough, just like those Houston Cougars that are heading to the national championship. The teams play similar. Rockets just scored a little more. 106-96 for the Golden State Warriors as the Warriors lose their first in their last 5 as they had a 5-game winning streak coming in. On today's show, we're going to talk about Steph Curry getting clamped in the game, a 3-1 gauntlet, which was actually a very good stretch for the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green's tough night, and the playoff push as a whole. This is Locked On Warriors. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. If this is your first time checking out the show, you can find us on YouTube. If you're an avid watcher on YouTube, be sure to add the audio podcast wherever you get it to your arsenal as well to take us on the go. My name is Charlie Walter, formerly of 95.7 The Game. That's the flagship of the Golden State Warriors. Also covered their championship run for CBS News Bay Area. Call letters KPIX. For Cron 4 in the Bay Area, it was Kylen Mills. She also worked for NBC Sports Bay Area. You see her on the broadcast from time to time. And now you hear her just about everywhere. See her on the Big Ten Network and much more. Stephen Curry obviously is the big storyline of this game. He'd been scoring 30 seemingly every night. He'd scored 52 against the Memphis Grizzlies just a week ago. Tonight was not his best performance. 1 of 10 from the floor, 1 for 8 from 3, just 3 points. Did have 8 assists, but 7 of them were in the first half. A largely ineffective night from Steph Curry, but the Houston Rockets defense is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, they had Thompson one-on-one with Curry at points, and then the switch would come, and it would be Dylan Brooks would be guarding them. And then both would be guarding them with their length and their physicality. A tough matchup for the Warriors, but it hasn't been tough throughout the entire season as they did take the season series from Houston. Most of these games were close. I think this one was closer than the score proved to be. It was just a matter of the Warriors not hitting shots in the second half when they had a chance to come back. They had 5 straight possessions where they could have knocked down a shot and gotten back into it, and they failed to do so. And the Rockets outplayed them. It's as simple as that. Opening thoughts, Kylen. What's up?
What is up, Chuck, and everyone watching? Great to be back with you and great to be chatting with you all. I see a lot of chatter in the chat about kind of what lies ahead for the Warriors. We're going to break that down at the end of the show. So we are going to be getting into the playoff push and kind of analyzing these final couple games and what it will take for the Warriors to finish outside of a play-in game. That's the bottom line. I don't think you're mad about the results of this game. I don't think you can be. Listen, the Warriors were within 2 possessions going into the fourth quarter with Steph Curry scoring 3 points. How often do you see that happen? And the Dubs as a whole not shooting the ball particularly well. The final numbers, not terrible. 37% from 3, but 41% from the floor. Not the most efficient night from the Dubs offense as a whole. And then your leader, your scoring leader, your emotional leader, Steph Curry, just completely bottled up by this Houston Rockets defense. You got to give credit to the Rockets. They're 4th in the NBA in defensive rating. And listen, that's for a reason. They're really good defensively. We've seen throughout the course of Steph's career, especially these last couple of years, there are times where teams can bottle up Steph, face guarding him, bringing doubles, even triples. I thought Fred VanVleet did an excellent job bottling Steph up, just good individual pressure and really committing to the defense, getting over screens, just doing everything possible to make Steph's life difficult. And it was. And it was difficult. But here's the thing. This is the second team in the West. So for the Dubs to even be in it with the second best team in the conference with Steph Curry completely ice cold, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Listen, there was a stretch going into the fourth quarter where I was noting possession by possession. The Dubs were able to string together stops. They couldn't score. And that was the difference to me. 5 consecutive stops to open up the fourth quarter for the Dubs when they were still within reach. A couple missed threes from the Rockets. The Warriors forced a couple of turnovers. There was a travel call, a Jimmy Butler steal, yet the Dubs only scored 3 points during that span. It was the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. And then from there, the Rockets went on an 8-0 run. And that's where they started to get that separation. So that was a span of the game that I look at as being a really critical one, where the Rockets were able to separate. The Dubs were able to get stops, but then couldn't capitalize on the offensive end. And it wasn't for getting bad looks. That's where I kind of was thinking about the three-point shooting being off, even though it wasn't over the course of the entirety of the game.
Wide open looks.
During that fourth quarter, early fourth quarter, they had wide open looks and just couldn't knock down threes, transition threes that weren't bad looks. I can't remember. There was another one, Gary Payton II. There were a couple of just really wide open threes that they could not score on. And then just a couple of missed opportunities and bad offensive possessions where maybe it wasn't a great shot in terms of selection. And that's where this Rockets team started to separate. But hey, listen, the Dubs have been playing extremely well, 19-4 since February 13th. I'm not concerned about the Warriors at all at this point. I think the team as a whole looks tired. I think Steph Curry looked tired. It's been a tough stretch. They brought in the win streak. They were coming in a second game at home off of quite a long road trip. No level of concern for me. I think the Rockets were the better team, as you pointed out, Steph. I think the Dubs looked tired. I think they stayed in it as well as they could, with Steph Curry playing, I don't even want to say is not his best basketball, maybe not his worst, but close to as bad as we've seen him play this season.
Yeah, and all of the credit goes to the Houston Rockets defense. It was incredible, but
I want to give it a 50-50. Like, I do feel like the defense was great.
He missed a few buckets close
but
to
the
it.
Warriors,
Looney
not
tipped
just
in
yeah,
one.
not just Steph. I'm just saying, but the Warriors as a whole also missed some shots. Like I said, I just feel like they still had some points where they did get good looks.
Yeah.
They just weren't capitalizing. So a little bit of both. Definitely the Rockets are good defensively for sure.
Look, it's another night at the office when the Rockets are holding someone to 96. It's kind of what they do, but it was a 1-point game going into the locker room. There was the weird Draymond play that forced him to the bench again. I mean, it was just foul after foul. Draymond only got 27 minutes, and not because he wasn't effective. In fact, he brought the energy. It was a thing of beauty after that little, I guess, what do you want to call it? The little chicken wing on Alperen Şengün under the bucket. It was it was a whole spectacle. We got the loudest Warriors chant I've heard in quite some time. Place was ready to explode. I think it was tied up at that point, and then the Rockets just kind of took the lead going into the locker room. They came out hot and kind of imposed their will, went up 7 or 8, and then every time the Warriors tried to cut it to one possession, they were within 4 so many times. It was like the 10-minute mark of the fourth. Peyton had a 3, missed it. Heald had a 3, missed it. Pods had a 3 off a Jimmy Butler steal. The place would have exploded. Missed it. All wide open threes. Then, it's another Peyton missed 3. Those were in the non-Curry minutes where they could have really used just a little push to keep them within it. And by the time, Curry got in there, a little run made it a 10, 12-point game. And that was kind of all you needed to see late.
Can I add something when you're done?
Yeah, I'm done. You got it.
I just want to say before you moved on to our next segment, this is another game to me, though, where we need to see Jimmy Butler take over. That was one thing that kept popping up in my mind. Finishes with 13 points, 4 of 7 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 5 boards, 3 assists. Like, not a terrible outing, but still, this is why you added Jimmy Butler to this.
Let's call it a tease.
Right?
Let's call it a tease, because we have a lot that we need to get into with Jimmy Butler. So let's keep that take on deck. Let's get ready for it. Jimmy Butler talk. Are we going to get playoff Jimmy moving forward? How does the playoff push look entering this thing? And then we'll tie a ribbon on this game, talk a little more about what went wrong for the Golden State Warriors in a 106-96 loss. But first, let's have a word from our sponsors.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. We've told you a little bit about Monarch Money, and if you ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go between like dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it is easy to lose track. It's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you can just stop managing your money and start building your wealth. When I realized that I was spending way too much on takeout was through Monarch Money. Instead of using multiple apps, just use Monarch to check your finances. And it's smoother than ever because you could track shared and personal accounts. You could set goals and you could stay on the page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Load code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
Jimmy Butler is supposed to be that dog, and he always is defensively, and what he brings in terms of his toughness and the way that he plays the game overall. But one thing that he was supposed to bring was that second scorer we talked about. And lately it's been Pajimski, who had 19 today. Buddy Hield, actually the leading scorer with 20. He was your main guy. Pajimski was your second scorer. And then Jimmy Butler was down at fourth behind Gary Payton the second. So that's one thing that makes it feel like a positive, is that Gary Payton, we didn't even know if he was going to be back entering the playoffs. He's now gotten a couple under him, and he's looked really good. 7 of 14 from the floor today, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, was great defensively. Buddy is apparently back in the 30-minute cycle, the 25-minute cycle, and the 6 3-point cycle, where he had 20 today and Pajimski 19. So that's the good news. The bad news is we got to seriously ask the question, does Jimmy Butler still have that I'm going to take over a game scoring wise? Because you know he can do it from just a playmaking perspective, getting others involved. But when those others that you're getting involved are, Gary Payton and Pods and Moody and whoever it may be during the stretch, and they're not knocking down 3-pointers, you got to take over. You got to have more than 7 shots in 33 minutes. Does he have that 40-point dog in it? That 50-point dog in it?
It's the $1 million question.
Jimmy. It is the $1 million question, because it's a tale as old as time, and not only that, it's real. Like, playoff Jimmy has been a thing, but the question is it going to be a thing moving forward? And we don't know. With the Warriors right now, he's been 25 points at best.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is that's why the Warriors brought Jimmy Butler in, is when the 3 ball isn't falling, he is a guy who can score on the inside. Butler can attack the basket on the bounce. He can back you down. He's just a really good interior scorer in a couple of different ways. But the issue is I didn't see that aggression from him in this game. I just don't think that Jimmy was as aggressive and confident as he needed to be with the basketball or demanding the basketball. This is where you want to see your star, right? Like, this is our Robin to Steph's Batman. You need to see him step up in the moments where you see that Steph is struggling. He's drowning when he's being face guarded, doubled, tripled, whatever. I mean, the Houston Rockets were sending everybody to Steph every time he touched the basketball. That should be Jimmy time. That should be Himmy time. Jimmy Butler should be demanding the basketball, driving and creating with his ability to attack the rim. And I just didn't see that from him tonight. I didn't see what I needed to, just in terms of take over Jimmy. Like, I don't even know how to put it into words, because it's not necessarily even like one or two things schematically. Well, yes, I do think the Warriors could have and should have adjusted to try to create some more opportunities specifically for Jimmy, and just in general to create more shots inside the arc, because like you said, even though on the whole for the game, the Warriors weren't terrible from 3, there were definitely droughts and stretches where they weren't knocking down the 3. And a couple times specifically where I brought up opening up the fourth quarter, where they really could have cut into the deficit and they couldn't knock down the 3 ball. So they kept just throwing up threes. And it's like, at some point, you've got to adjust. You've got to tweak the game plan. You got to draw something up, get Jimmy Butler going, get some kind of screens, run some plays for him. And I think, as in terms of the coaching staff and the team as a whole, like, yeah, they could have maybe made adjustments, but also like Jimmy himself needs to be taking the basketball. And I just didn't see that level of takeover. So I think that's the big level of concern, is that you need to have your secondary scorer step up and be the primary scorer when your leading scorer either isn't on, or he's being bottled up, when he's grabbing a lot of attention defensively. That's where you need the number 2 to be the guy. And Jimmy tonight was not the guy. And that's my one concern, is that I think we've seen inconsistencies in his play. He's had nights where he's great and he's putting up 25, and then other nights where I just don't think he's as takeover Jimmy as he needs to be, just not aggressive enough. And so I think moving forward, that's going to be a huge key for the Warriors as you look ahead to a postseason. It can't be all on Steph's shoulders. And that's the number one storyline that we've talked about the last couple seasons since winning that 2022 championship. Steph needs more help. okay, the help is here. Jimmy has made a difference, no doubt. And I like that he brings a different element to this offense with his ability to score more on the interior, get into a pick and roll, attack the basket, back guys down, whatever that may be, just his aggressiveness, his tenacity. But he can't lack intensity in certain moments and in moments where the Warriors need him most. And that's how I felt tonight. Too inconsistent.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the Warriors had great looks all night for the most part. I mean, there was a stretch where they weren't moving it as much. They weren't setting good screens, I thought. But for the majority, even when they were missing some of their shots, they were just wide open looks that were not going down. That's what happens when you're throwing bodies at Stephen Curry, is you're going to swing the basketball on a Steve Kerr offense and find the open man. The open shots just have to fall. And when the Houston Rockets are 10 of 30, a bad shooting team, and you're 16 of 43, percentage wise, I'm doing the math there, you're only slightly better than the Houston Rockets at 37% to 33. That's supposed to be a place that you have an advantage because the rebounding battle, obviously Houston's going to win that 49 to 46. You turned it over 20 times. The Rockets turned it over 16. They play a chaotic style of basketball, so that's going to happen. But the points in the paint, 56 for the Rockets. You can point to Draymond missing the entire third quarter as a large reason to that statistic. But again, you got to roll with the punches in a given game. The Warriors had a fully healthy team and were just outplayed by the Houston Rockets, who, may I say, are playing very good basketball, and they are a really good team. But again, it's a 7-game series come playoff time. Do you think you could hang with this team for 7 games if you saw them in the postseason? And I think the answer is you played horribly tonight. You did not play great basketball. And minus
I think the Warriors could hang with them, but I think they just need more from the role players who are not named Steph Curry. I know we just called out Jimmy Butler, but there's some of the other guys. I know you don't want to hear this name.
They got 54 from their bench.
Yes, I agree the bench, but like Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody are two young
so
guys.
let's start
I've been
there.
very high on.
They combined for
need to do
33
more.
minutes. They played less than Buddy Hield and Gary Payton. This was one of those contests where Kerr, and he's done this from time to time, he rode the hot hand, which was Buddy Hield and Gary Payton. Like, he thought they were playing better than the two, and definitely better than Moses. I did think Kuminga, with 7 rebounds in the game, was attacking the glass, had some bad turnovers, but he was playing hard. He was physical, and he's typically been pretty good, really good against the Houston Rockets. So maybe you would have liked to have seen more minutes there, but Moses with the 14, it was just clear that it wasn't one of his nights. And that's a beautiful thing about depth with Buddy and Gary combining for 36.
Yep.
Here's the deal.
They were the two bright spots for sure. That's what I was going to say. Buddy and Gary carried it from the bench, but I'm just saying, like, when you score 96, if Steph's not scoring, everyone needs to score a little bit more. Like, if you're Moses Moody, whether it's 14 minutes or 20, you can't score 3 points. And he looked really tentative to me. 1 of 7 from the floor. I'm just saying, to beat a really good team, like, you need consistency from some of the role players.
When Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Moses Moody, that's 9, plus Jonathan Kuminga, 9, average 28, which is about Curry's season average, give or take a couple points. When those 4, Butler, Curry, Moody, and Kuminga, combined for Curry's typical average, you're not going to win many games. So the fact that you were in it is, I guess, a silver lining from a loss that was the loss of a very tough stretch where you went 3-1. Let's, again, I say the telescope. Let's not look at this thing under a microscope, although there were some cracks in the foundation that will worry you come playoff time, and a lot of it is inconsistent shooting. It's been feast or famine all year. They were pretty good shooting today overall and still weren't able to take down the Rockets, and the 20 turnovers, obviously ridiculous. But telescope
Didn't talk about the turnovers. That's a good point. There was
telescope perspective, though, Kylen. Telescope perspective. You feel good about this 3-1 stretch. Now you can get back into the turnovers. I was just trying to, give all the good vibes out. Take this game with a grain of salt before Kylen gets into the 20 horrific turnovers that the Golden State Warriors piled on tonight.
No, I didn't want to dive too deep into it because, like I said, I think this is a game that you just flush, that you turn the page on. I mean, like I said, look, the Warriors in the last 20 games have been elite. They're coming off a really impressive win streak. They went 4-2 on the road trip. Like, I think Dubs fans can pump the brakes a little bit on some of the panic, right? Just because you lose one game, it's the second best team in the West. Your best player, it struggles, no questions asked. 3 points, 8 assists, 1 of 10 from the floor, 1 of 8 from 3 is just all-time bad for Steph Curry. But I do also think the Warriors have to take care of the basketball. Again, it's just when Steph Curry isn't scoring, then everything needs to be performed at a little bit of a higher level, whether it be guys chipping in offensively, whether it be taking care of the basketball. You just can't afford to give away those possessions. And I also felt like in certain moments, there were just unnecessary sloppy turnovers. Even going back to the first half, I got to bring up my game notes because I take notes as I'm watching the game. And it's just like sloppy, one-handed telegraphed pass. Does nobody any good. And it's like back-to-back turnovers. There also were certain stretches where I feel like those turnovers are really costly when you got to try to build a run. You got to try to get back in a game, especially when they were trailing. And it's just like you can't afford to give the ball away. That can be a massive swing. You go from scoring a three-pointer to turning the ball over and they score a three. And it can be depleting and can be depleting and affect you in terms of the momentum and the confidence as well. So, 20 turnovers is too many. Again, the margin for error is smaller. When you know that Steph isn't scoring the basketball, the others have to take care of the ball. And so I don't think we need to go any deeper into it. But the positives are what we're talking about in our next segment, Chuck. Looking ahead, I think the schedule is very kind for the Dubs. So I'm excited to get into that.
Yes, let's round out the talk from tonight with Mark Medina. He says, the anyone but Curry strategy could be a problem for the Dubs entering the playoffs. I'm worried. The anyone but Curry strategy can't really be pulled off by many teams except the Houston Rockets. Like that's
it can. We've seen other teams do it. We've seen other teams do it. Literally, you're tripling Steph all game. And that's the strategy that you can do against any team that has a superstar. Like, are you going to try to shut down the star and force the others to beat you? Or do you let the star get his and hope that you do enough to shut down the others that they can't outscore you? And it's clear because there have been other teams that have done it. Now, can every team do it? No. But I think a lot of teams might see the blueprint and say, hey, we'll take the risk of letting the others score and just throwing a bunch of guys at Curry.
I don't think this is a new blueprint. That's all I'm saying.
It's not new. It's not a new blueprint.
I think it's very difficult to execute, and you got to tip your cap to the Houston Rockets for being able to do it. And at the same time, you got to throw your hat that the Warriors were not able to make a lot of easy looks, quite frankly. I saw missed layups from Butler. I saw a missed layup from Podziemski. Curry missed 2 ones close to the bucket that he typically makes.
I remember one.
Look, these are two teams that if they played a 7-game series, they could go the distance. Like these are just going to happen from time to time. You don't play as good as you could have. The Rockets bottle you up, and that's a good team right there. That is a good team. Let's talk about the playoff push coming up for the Golden State Warriors. We are down to the final 5 games of the season, or is it 4? Real time.
4. After today, 4.
That's the difference between me and Kylen. She comes with facts. I come with hunches. Vibes. I come with vibes, I think. Locked On Warriors. It continues after this.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
All right. FanDuel. Let me tell you about America's #1 sports book. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you will get $250 in bonus bets if that $5 bet wins. The Golden State Warriors right now to win the NBA championship are currently 5th. They have climbed all the way up to 5th. It's Oklahoma City at +170. It's the Boston Celtics at +185. It's the Cleveland Cavs at +500. It's the Lakers at +1800, tied with the Golden State Warriors for +1800. So you could say 4th best odds. They have better odds than the Rockets and the Nuggets, and you can find those on FanDuel if you like the Warriors to win an NBA championship. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim that $250 in bonus bets today. Let's get back to the show.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
Warriors are down to their final 4 games of the regular season, and they are 4 games against teams that are below you in the standings as of right now, or at least were entering the game today. It's Phoenix. They have not been good as of late. No Kevin Durant. You have to win that game in Phoenix. You have to win all these games. San Antonio at home. You better beat San Antonio. You just hung what, a $140 on them and beat them by 40 points. Beat them again. The Blazers on the road, they've been playing better. They're young. They're still a team that's in lottery contention. Definitely in lottery contention, but trying to capture the flag, essentially. So how much will they want to win? And then the LA Clippers to end the season, who have beaten you 3 times already. And that game could have huge, huge stakes because we take a look at the standings, and the Golden State Warriors are now in a 4-way tie for the 5th seed. A 4-way tie. It's the Clippers, it's the Warriors, it's the Timberwolves, and it's the Grizzlies. This is how it's going to end, Kylen. You're probably not going to catch that 4 spot anymore, or that 3 spot, or that 4 spot for that matter. So just assume they're going to be 5, 6, 7, or 8. How's this thing going to end?
All right, 4 games to go for the Dubs, and I like the outlook. I think at the very least, at the worst, they should go 3-1, and they have the opportunity to go 4-0 with the season finale coming at home against the LA Clippers, who are also one of the hottest teams in the NBA. A healthy Kawhi Leonard makes this team extremely dangerous. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they have won 4 in a row. That's the game to circle on this. But you look ahead to the next 3 games. You've got Phoenix next on Tuesday. They have not faced the Warriors since Jimmy Butler was added to this lineup. Also, Kevin Durant has been out with an ankle injury. You got to keep your fingers and toes crossed that he does not play in this game on Tuesday. If KD doesn't, that should be a gimme for the Dubs. Without Kevin Durant, Phoenix is 2-14 in games that he hasn't played in, dealing with an ankle injury. Now, granted that Phoenix is trying to make it into a play-in spot, this is a situation where KD may be pushed if he's like on the edge of going versus not going, because they do have a lot to play for in terms of trying to get one of these final spots. But if Kevin Durant doesn't play, that should be a win. Lock it down for the Dubs. San Antonio at home. Warriors just throttled them by 40 on the road. So again, that should be a very winnable game. At Portland, winnable game. Another team struggling in the West. They just beat them about a month ago. And then that brings the toughest test in this final stretch of the schedule. Again, the LA Clippers, I think, is going to be a very interesting game if both the Warriors stay hot and the Clippers stay in the form they've been in. Again, Kawhi Leonard healthy. I just think this is a dangerous team. But the Dubs do get that game at home, and the Warriors thrive typically with the home court advantage at Chase. So again, I think if you win the next 3, take care of business. Don't overlook any opponent. Come in and take care of business these next 3 games. That 4th game may not matter. They may have locked up a top 6 spot depending on what all these other teams do. Memphis Grizzlies are a team that has struggled largely since the All-Star break, let alone these last several games. They're 3-7. They're a team that I think is trending the wrong direction compared to a Dubs or a Clippers team. And then I was just looking at who the Minnesota Timberwolves play. They have the Milwaukee Bucks next. So that could be a tough one where hopefully, because that's the thing, the Warriors have to win, and you got to hope some of these teams lose to get a little bit of separation or to lock in one of those final spots, or at least avoiding a play-in spot before that last game. You don't want it to come down to that Clippers game. So you got to hope that the Grizzlies lose one, or the Grizzlies. Well, yeah, the Grizzlies, but say the Timberwolves lose 1 or 2, but they face the Grizzlies, they face the Bucks, they've got the Brooklyn Nets, and then the Utah Jazz. Last game of the season should be a win for them. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I like the Dubs' chances looking forward. I think these last 4 games, again, very winnable games. You got to go 3-0. You got to go 3-0 in the next games up. Those are all teams that on paper the Warriors should beat. And this is a point in the season where you have to take care of business. Do not make it come down to the last game of the regular season in order to secure that 6th spot and avoid the play-in.
The issue is all the wrong teams are losing. Like the Lakers are 5-5 over their last 10. The Nuggets are 3-7, but the Clippers are 8-2. The Wolves are 7-3.
Yeah.
The Rockets are now 8-2. Thunder 8-2. So everyone in the West is seemingly winning games, and those 6, 7, 8 spots. Now the Grizzlies have lost, 7 of their last 10. They've fallen all the way down to the 8th spot. But the Timberwolves and the Clippers, you can't gain any separation. It's just so damn frustrating that the Warriors have been playing this good for this long. I consistently look at the last 10 on, the sports websites that I'm checking out, and it's 8-2, it's 7-3. It has not been 6-4 with Jimmy Butler. 7-3, it's 8-2, it's 9-1. I don't know if they've gone 10-0, but it's consistently in that range, and they haven't gotten any separation. In fact, they're sitting there tied with the Wolves and the Grizzlies, and are a loss away from really being behind the 8 ball and not controlling their own destiny at all, and potentially having to play for a, just a 7 or an 8 seed. But the good news of that is there's really no matchup in the West that seems a lot more difficult than the other. I mean, maybe after watching the Rockets tonight, you'd say I'd rather take my chances with the Nuggets or with the Lakers and definitely the Clippers. But look, 2 through 7, I'd say, because the Wolves have been hot. Grizzlies, I think, are reeling. But 2 through 7,
yeah,
I mean, just avoid the play-in. It doesn't matter who you play, right? It really doesn't. At the end of the day, you gotta beat the best to be the best, they say. So,
Well, I mean, and trying to get the
spin.
top 4 seed thing, it's like, okay, you want home court advantage. I get it, but you can survive without it. I don't know. I just think the Dubs with Jimmy Butler could be a scary team that maybe ends up a little bit underseeded in the playoff based on how good they could be. You don't hate
Yeah.
it.
And that's going to be the big question, because every Heat fan, every Sixers fan, every Wolves fan, every Chicago Bulls fan, this is a tale as old as time. It's why he has the nickname attached to him. He's playoff Jimmy. Like, it's like
Well,
Tom
it's time to
Brady in the
wake
big
up,
game.
playoff Jimmy.
It's
Let's go.
Unfortunately, it was not, we need a W, Jimmy, and we need you to step up when Steph Curry only has 3 points, because he did not do that from a scoring perspective. But again, it's team loss. It starts with the fact that the Rockets were able to bottle down the Warriors. They won all the grit stats tonight. They protected the basketball better than the Warriors did. And Golden State had many opportunities to hit a three to cut it down to 1. And every single time they had those threes, they missed them. The Rockets would go for 4 the other way real quick. And next thing you know, you're down 8. And that was kind of the storyline of the game today. One thing that I wanted to get into very quickly, Kylen, I want a quick reaction from you. I listened to Nick Wright today on the Fox program that he's on, and he was talking about how the Warriors, they just don't have the surrounding talent for Steph Curry. And everyone on the panel said, I think you're discrediting a lot of these guys on Golden State and what they bring in their given roles. And I think Pods today, I think Gary Payton today, and, to a lesser extent in his minutes, Jonathan Kuminga, they did show you that, like, the Warriors don't got no damn scrubs. They do have the strength and numbers going to an extent, a very top-heavy 3. But I think they got enough talent to make a serious run at this thing. The question is going to be, how are they shooting? How healthy are they? And then in the matchups that they have, does Draymond Green pick up 5 fouls, a minute into the third quarter? Because that is a big takeaway from this game as well. That's my final thought.
Final thought is, I think the depth could be there. That sounds like a great topic for tomorrow, our Monday/Tuesday show before they play next. So take us home. Take us home.
The chat, I don't know how this turned into a roast of Steve Kerr. They win like 15 of 18 games. We don't hear a peep about Kerr, and then they lose one game after a great 3-1 stretch, and the pitchforks are out. But hey, that's why we call them fanatics. And we appreciate you for tuning in. You guys have thumbs too. Hit those thumbs up, those like buttons, the subscribes. Let the program come your way. I am on TikTok at It's Charlie Walter. Kylen Mills is on it as well. There aren't many Kylen Millses in the world, so you can find all her social medias at Kylen Mills. You can watch her on the Big Ten Network. You can see her on NBC Sports area and more. And you can hear her on Locked On Warriors from time to time. Appreciate everyone. Let's go Dubs.
Go Dubs. Night, night, baby.